Welcome to the Speak by Design podcast, where we study great speakers and great leaders. We study their style, structure, and strategy so you can become a consistently compelling force at work and in life. I'm Stephanie Bickel, your host. Lesson 2, develop an expansive mindset. Now, this is the skill of thinking bigger than the people around you. All leadership is a point of view. A point of view that lifts the standards or the typical expectations people have to a higher or broader way of seeing things. And when the leader does not have this, the team is not motivated. And we expose our mindset every time we open our mouth. Every time you react to a question, every time you react to a sentence, if somebody says, give me an update, and you open your mouth and you say something like, I'm working on 3 PowerPoint pages for the upcoming meeting on Friday, that is a wasted opportunity. That sounded so small. How can you show people that you think bigger? You have to actually think bigger. We can help you with messaging and tell you what to say, but it's so much easier if you just think bigger than everybody else. So if you're in sales and somebody says your target for this year is $1 million in revenue, bring in $1 million in revenue. Don't say this out loud, but in your mind, push yourself to make 2 million. So if you can internally look for how could you do more than that? How could you be more global in the reaction versus more local? How could you give better service? How could you be prepared for the future better? What does it look like 3 years from now, 5 years from now? If you're thinking that way, it's going to show up in your responses. So let's take the question that you're asked just about every day by your boss or your skip level leader, or in an elevator, if you ran into an executive, this is what they're going to ask you. Oh, what are you working on these days? What are you working on? Maybe you say something like this. Oh, I'm evaluating the total addressable market for a new product. Now that sounds pretty darn impressive because the next question is going to be, tell me about the new product, and you can go dig into that. But it's also very short term. You're showing how you think about the work that you're doing, and it sounds very tactical. Now, another response you could have had is, oh, I'm preparing these slides on the total addressable market so I can give them to my boss for his or her upcoming meeting. It's a little more expansive because now we see that it's important to your boss, but it also highlights that you are in the weeds and that you are the person who does the analysis and not the person who does the persuasion piece and brings that content to life. If you said, I am working on some analysis for the total addressable market for this new product for an upcoming executive committee meeting, that also elevates the impact of the work that you're doing, shows off that it's very important. It's going to aid in a big decision that's being made, but it's still not talking about the future yet. If you said something like, oh, I'm working on the total addressable market sizing for this new product because we know the world is going to want this product and customers are going to go wild for it. Now we're focusing on the end user. So that exposes that you think about the broader picture outside of your company walls. Now that is a better response. Here's another good response. What are you working on today? I am working on sizing the total addressable market for a new product. Right now, we're only evaluating how that looks in the States, but then we are going to look at other key global economies because we know that there's going to be wild demand for this product around the world. Next time you get asked the question, what are you working on today? Play with your response. How can you demonstrate that you have a broader mindset, that you're thinking of the future? One of my favorite tricks for this is that you still say what you're working on. I'm working on sizing this addressable market so we can help customers, help society, grow globally, expand our brand as a company, increase the need for our team, and increase their demand. So you can is the way I give myself enough time to think of that broader idea that I want to tell them. But now that's how you respond and demonstrate your expansive mindset. If you're already thinking bigger, more futuristically, it's going to show up all the time for you. So if someone says, well, here's my struggle today, and you say, well, 3 years from now, what do you think your struggle is going to be then? Or if we fix everything today, what does it look like a year from now? The types of questions you ask will help people understand that you have a very expansive mindset. When you think bigger and broader and more futuristically than the people around you, you handle mistakes, setbacks, and failures better. Imagine you're in a team meeting and people say, we have a system outage. Because you're already thinking about, oh, we'll get this resolved rather soon. I believe we'll have this all in place as soon as possible, maybe in a matter of hours, and we're going to learn so much from this, and we'll be able to communicate this lesson to the broader team and be better for the future. Because you're thinking that way, you're going to handle yourself with more patience, your other people with more patience and positivity. Now, that was a very positive outlook, wasn't it? To believe that, oh, we'll get the systems back up soon. I know we can do this. That positivity is incredibly attractive to people, and it positions you as a visionary, as a leader immediately. But if you went in there and say, oh, the sky is falling, everything is going wrong, we're never going to recover, how did this happen? How did this happen? And you keep wanting to get into who made the mistake, who can we blame? That is important. Not the blaming part, but understanding why it happened is certainly important. But if we over focus on that internally, you're going to be frowning. You're going to be scowling. So think for a moment, if you believed very futuristically that everything's going to work out, even better than you imagine, that 5 years from now, your career is going to be in a better place than you've ever thought possible for yourself, and that everything you've wanted professionally is going to come true in 5 years. If you believe that, you're going to behave very differently under pressure and when there's uncertainty, because you have such incredible belief, and it's expansive belief. It's positive belief. But if I think, 5 years from now, I'll probably be in the same role, it's going to be the same stress level, probably more stress because there will be more complexity and more people that I'm serving. It's going to be so hard. That's going to show up in my body language, in my reactions, in team meetings today. So you want to put on these futuristic, positive mindsets so that you can show up differently in the meeting you have today. One of my favorite exercises with people is to say, let's imagine who you are 5 years from now. And let's say I'm coaching a manager. And I say, so you, 5 years from now, let's say you're a partner in this organization or soon to be a partner in this organization. Sometimes people just want to say, I want to be a partner. I don't care where I am. They're not quite clear on the organization. That's fine. We want to get to what they're clear on, what they can actually imagine. So what can you actually imagine for yourself 5 years from now? You might have to write down the year, your age, so that you can get clearer on this, because it's fuzzy. It's not clear to most of us. But then start asking yourself, How do I behave in meetings? How do I behave under stress? How do I influence another peer of mine to think differently? How do I coach an underperforming team member? How do I excite all staff in a town hall? And picture it. Picture what you're wearing, what you look like, what your hair is like in the future even. And see it so clearly and feel your happiness at that stage. You can still acknowledge that, of course, there's going to be stress, but I handle it so well. And then our goal is to become that person today as much as we can. We don't have to wait 5 years to feel that confident. We can feel that confident today. Now, confidence was in lesson 1. This lesson 2, this tip, is more about how you look at the business you're in. So let's suppose you are an engineer or a technical expert of some sort. When somebody says, "Can you explain this?" it's going to be tempting for you to explain it in your technical lens, in your engineering lens. But can you think more like a general business executive? Can you put your cybersecurity expertise in the lens of a general business person, not a cyber business person? So what would that sound like? Let's suppose I'm talking about the integration of 2 companies. I'm in cybersecurity, and I'm worried about the integration of these systems and doing it in a way that is safe and secure. My opening sentence could be something like, "Look, we want these 2 companies to be integrated as fast as possible so they can start becoming wildly profitable. In fact, we have a business goal of reaching X million as soon as next quarter. How can we do that safe and securely? We need to do a few things from a cyber perspective. Here they are." Because I began with the business goal, the strategy statement of what we want to achieve, we want to increase profitability, which is almost every lesson in business, every message somehow hits a profitability standpoint, even if you're in not-for-profit work, because you're fundraising. So that goal statement first immediately telegraphs to everybody, I am thinking big. I am not thinking about my swim lane. I'm thinking about our overall organization's objective. So a strategy statement sounds like this. We want to increase our market share by 30% over the next 3 years. That's a strategy statement. When you begin with some version of a strategy statement, you are telegraphing your expansive mindset. Now, when you put a strategy statement out there that is bigger than how the other people in the room think, now you are emerging as the leader on that topic. When you picture who you are 5 years from now, you are a person who speaks that way all the time. Here's our goal. Here's the vision. Here's our common vision. Here's how we could think bigger than we have in the past. And then you'll start noticing when people are thinking small. You'll start noticing when the associate is only looking at their tiny work stream and not seeing the bigger, broader picture. And you'll be able to bring that to them over and over again. And that is the leader's job. If you are not explaining that vision to people, you are not giving them a proper why. And if they don't have a good, clear why, they won't know what they should be prioritizing. And they also will move at a pace that drives you nuts. So if you want to accelerate the pace of the people around you, it all comes from your expansive thinking. It all comes from the way you're looking at the opportunity, the way you're looking at the challenge. So think further into the future than you have in the past. If you've only been looking at the next quarter goals, go to the end of the year. If you've been looking at the end of the year, look 3 years out. If you're good at the 3 years out, go look 10 years out. But wherever you are today, start pushing your thinking more forward. And then secondly, get comfortable being a person who makes forecasts. So that takes a lot of courage to be the person who says, here's what I believe is possible. Here's where I think we could be by the end of the year. Because you're worried that if we don't get there, that maybe you lied or you set a false expectation. Do not be afraid of that. That's not a lie. Everyone knows you don't have a crystal ball. Put something out there that motivates people, aligns people, and gets everyone on the same page. Always believe that better outcomes are possible. If you're somebody who's coming in and believing that it's all going to go away, we're going to lose, this is going to be terrible, that energy is so demotivating to the people around you, and it immediately puts you in a leader bucket that you don't want to be. You are then the type of leader that is holding people back. Of course, there are going to be hardships. Of course, there are going to be risks. But when you put out limited thinking to your team and share it with your peers, you are holding the company back. You're holding your clients back too when you think that way. All right, so I want to leave you with one thought. Set bigger goals. Just bigger goals for yourself, bigger goals for the people around you, bigger goals for your company, bigger goals for your customers and clients, and then think very big about what the impact could be on the world. And if you're thinking, oh, this doesn't apply to me, it 100% applies to you, and that's your negative limiting thinking holding you back again. Now, why is this so normal that the brain does this? Because the brain is trying to look for the easiest path in life, the path that is going to be predictable, where there's no risk, where there's not a lot of effort, and there's a ton of pleasure. And is there a lot of pleasure in thinking big? There is initially, because there's that initial moment where it's a big, beautiful, pure dream. But then sometimes the brain comes in and starts thinking small again and says, this is going to be too hard. You've never done this before. It's not going to be as easy as you think. It's not going to be fun. You're going to get stressed out. You're going to get burnt out. Don't do this. Don't do this. It's not possible. And it's that moment where you have to outsmart your own mind and remind yourself it is possible. Just like it's possible it could fail, it's also possible it could work. And if you really want that big life, big outcomes, it's going to take big effort. Those three things go together. And when you believe it is possible 100%, other people will believe as well. And that's how you develop your followers as a leader. It comes from your degree of belief, which turns into your degree of commitment. Investors will say, oh, I get excited by the CEO who stands up there with a really great plan that I can tell they believe at 100%, that sounds crystal clear, and I can tell they've got incredible energy and commitment toward that plan. Well, that person's not putting on a show. I promise they're not. A good CEO, this is coming from an internal place. And we certainly have examples of CEOs who have done this, have been so committed and had great belief, but their plans didn't pan out, but they got investors incredibly excited along the way by the way they spoke. And it wasn't just by the way they spoke, it was by the way they were thinking about the market, the way they were thinking about their service offering and their plan. So pulse on this. How could you think bigger on everything you're doing, on every aspect? And you don't have to go to your boss and say, I think bigger than you, because that will create conflict with your boss. But just do it. Just think it internally and see how it shows up in meetings, and do it in a way that is positive and patient. You can have a degree of sense of urgency to things, but not at the cost of being a caring leader. It cannot be about results and winning at all costs. It has to have that feeling of, I know this is possible, I know we can do it, and we can have fun all along the way. And that's having an expansive, positive mindset. All right, everyone, have a great day. Bring this energy into your next conversation. Take care. If you are enjoying all of these lessons, but now you're hungering to turn all of this into skills and habits that make this work intuitive and natural so that you don't have to think about it, then you want to join Speak by Design University. That's our coaching program that gives you private coaching, group coaching with me, group training, self-paced learning, as well as exceptional networking with other people like you. This program is for managers and above, people whose careers are on fire and they're looking to hit their next level, and they want to do that sooner rather than later. Check it out at speakbydesign.com/join. That's speakbydesign.com/join, and you can start with us at the 1st of next month. We hope to see you there.